Yes! Hello, folks! Welcome to the Colt and Steve Show. I'm your host, Bryce Harper. Welcome back once again. Happy to be here with you at the Colt and Steve Show. It's just me today, folks, and you should be happy about that. You know I am, and we'll get started. That's part of our new line of opening soundtrack music. That one's called Only Time Will Tell by Asia, and that guy does not sound Asian, but I'll leave it to your judgment. So, once again, welcome to the Colt and Steve Show. I'm Bryson Witt. I'm your host. As you can tell by not hearing the loud, obnoxious voice of my brother Colton, he's not with us today. Colton, last night, he went to the Braves game. Obviously, couldn't do it yesterday. I'm going to the Braves game tomorrow. Can't do it tomorrow. He's working late tonight. Can't do tonight, so you're stuck with Bryson. You got this Steve out of the show, not Colt and Steve. And, you know, to be quite honest, this show is probably going to be horrible. But that's why I'm here. Most shows, when they get in a situation like this, they're going to phone it in. They're not even going to try. They're not even going to give you a show. We're giving you a show, even if it's subpar, and even if it's just me talking about whatever I want to talk about, and that's what we're going to talk about. So there is some stuff to talk about today. Obviously, I'm going to talk about some stuff that Colton doesn't like to talk about. I mean, we might delve into some superhero stuff today because I have total control over this, and you know that's what's good about being the sole host for once. So that's exciting. We've got some news to talk about. Obviously, the big thing happening in Congress, the House. Well, you know, we'll just start with this. Headline: House repeals Obamacare. White House celebrates. That's the headline. The head story today. So let me read you another headline. This is from CBS Philly. GOP lawmakers head to White House to celebrate as House passes Republican-backed health care bill. Now, this was a big thing, of course. The Republicans, they tried to pass a new health care bill to repeal and replace Obamacare several weeks ago. They ended up canceling the bill and not allowing it to be voted on because they didn't want to have such public humiliation because they were going to lose. They didn't have enough votes, but this time they got it passed, and I guess it's a big deal. And obviously, I don't know a lot about the new bill, but I do know it's passed, and I know Republicans are excited about it, and and I know it is a good thing that we got rid of Obamacare. So yeah, they got 217 votes. That's one more than they needed. I don't know if they got any more than that, but I don't know if they're saying they got 217 or they got the 217 they needed, but they needed 216, so they got 217. So let's read a little bit of this article. All right. The House of Representatives passed the latest Republican revised health care bill to repeal and replace Obamacare. GOP lawmakers finally had the votes they needed to pass the bill. The deal will provide an additional $8 billion to help people with pre-existing conditions pay for health insurance. Republicans are heading to the White House to celebrate the victory of President Donald Trump in the Rose Garden. Republican lawmakers even had a case of beer standing by to celebrate at the Capitol. Now, I don't know what Democrats are saying about the Republicans. But I mean, if it's anything bad, and they're saying that a lot of the rednecks are Republicans, the Republicans, they're giving some ammunition with the fact that they had a case of beer standing by. And I think that's pretty funny. But we'll move on. We'll keep going. This is going horribly. Beaten but unbowed, Democrats insisted Republicans will pay at election time for repealing major provisions of the law. They sang the pop song, "Na na na, hey hey, kiss 'em goodbye" to the GOP lawmakers as the end of the voting neared. Okay, that's kind of weird. A fierce debate over health care took place on the House floor as Republican lawmakers rallied support behind the new health care plan. House leaders called for a vote after winning over some last-minute holdouts. And what I've heard that this entire process, it was kind of a last-minute thing, and some people were talking like it was kind of thrown together at the last second. I don't know how true that statement is of it being thrown together, but it did seem like it kind of came out of nowhere. As in the last case, we had known about it for some time, and we'd known that it was coming, and we had all this time to anticipate it, and I think it might have helped more to the Republicans' favor this time, where they couldn't really see it coming, and they just got it taken care of quickly. So we'll keep reading along. Representative Kevin McCarthy from California said, "We have enough votes. It will pass." The measure skirted through the House by a thin 213 votes, so it was 217, and they didn't get it by much, but they did get it nonetheless, as all voting Democrats and a group of mostly moderate Republican holdouts voted no. A defeat would have been politically devastating for Trump and House Speaker Paul Ryan, absolutely, because I mentioned earlier, they had already failed on this once, and and a lot of people, they got a lot of criticism, and the Democrats were talking about how much of a big victory that was for them. And a lot of the Republicans, they were very, adamant on getting that bill passed back in the day. But a lot of them would tell you that, they didn't necessarily want just anything to be passed to replace Obamacare. They wanted to get it right. And if they had to wait another month or two to get what they wanted and to get it right, then they were willing to do that. And I think a lot of them think they did get it right here. So, yeah, the measure skirted through the House by a thin 217-13 vote, as all voting Democrats and a group of mostly moderate Republicans. Okay. So the bill would reduce subsidies for low-income Americans and eliminate taxes on the wealthy. There is also an age-based incentive with this new measure, hoping to encourage young people to buy insurance by offering a tax credit for those making less than $75,000 a year. While GOP lawmakers believe they've sweetened the deal some, the Democratic Pennsylvania lawmakers aren't buying it. Representative Dwight Evans says his vote was an unequivocal no. "I'm voting no," said Evans. I mean, okay, that's a pretty great quote. "This is a fraud, this bill, and we're going to fight it with all we have," said Senator Bob Casey. All right. Apparently his fighting didn't work. A major sticking point surrounds the pre-existing conditions clause in the current plan. Under the new deal, states can choose to allow insurers to charge higher rates for people with pre-existing conditions, but only if the state set up high-risk pools to help with the costs. They say, "Oh no, it's still in there, but the insurance company can charge you whatever you want." "Oh, you have cancer? That will be $100,000 a year for your policy," said Representative Peter DeFazio, Democrat, Oregon. Well, how can anyone take him seriously with a last name like DeFazio? Okay. This is a tremendous reversal of momentum for a measure that was twice pulled back from a vote for lack of support. Ryan canceled a March vote on the health care bill because disgruntled conservatives said the measure was too meek, while GOP moderates said its cuts were too deep. So yeah, in that instance, it didn't go right down the middle and didn't give all the Republicans everything that they wanted out of a new health care bill that would end up replacing Obamacare. And apparently with this one, all Republicans, pretty much all Republicans, except for a few moderates, voted on the bill and they got it passed. So I've said all I can on this, and I've rambled all I can. I'm not going to ramble anymore. I'm rambling right now because I'm just saying I'm rambling. And so now we're going to move on to the next thing, and this is going to be a segment that I'm going to call Slim Talk from a Slim Guy. We're going to run through we're going to try to run through a lot of these stories on Drudge Report and just talk to them, just kind of go through the highlights. Okay, first up, we're going to get every story. BuzzFeed employees joke about Trump assassination. Well, when you're telling a joke, it's supposed to be funny. Assassinating the president, not funny. End of that one. Let's see, Trump to visit Israel, Vatican, Saudi Arabia on first foreign trip. Okay, it sounds like he's going to be busy. First he's go to Israel. That'll be a good time. They're great friends with us. We're good allies. Then he's going to the Vatican to probably get to shake hands with the Pope. That'll probably be cool. He'll probably get to see the chimney where the white smoke comes out. And, then he's going to Saudi Arabia, maybe talk to some Saudi Arabians. He probably will. I mean, it is Saudi Arabia, of course. And then this below it, on the similar thing, says he's going to meet the Pope. You know what? I'm going to click on that one, and we're going to read it a little bit. Oh, man, we're 10 minutes in. Who knew? Man, I killed 10 minutes just talking myself. All right. Pope Francis to receive Donald Trump on May 24th at the Vatican. So, this is on Yahoo News, and so the headline picture here of Pope Francis, he's kind of in a position where it looks like he's walking, maybe at a heavy speed, and he's got his right hand lifted up, kind of like maybe he's waving, or maybe he's going to like do like the handshake where you grab somebody's hand and like you pull into a hug, or maybe it kind of looks like he's running, and that was pointless. But it says Pope Francis will receive U.S. President Donald Trump at the Vatican on May 24th. The Holy See said Thursday ahead of a G7 summit meeting in Sicily. Trump's audience with Francis in the morning will be followed by meetings with his Secretary of State Pietro Parolin and Archbishop Paula Gallagher, Secretary for Relations with States. While campaigning in February 2016 to become the Republican Party's nominee for the White House, Trump and the pontiff had a heated and extraordinary exchange through the media. Anyone, whoever he is, who only wants to build walls and not bridges is not a Christian, Pope Francis told journalists. Responding to a question about the real estate mogul's anti-immigrant stance, Trump retorted, "For a religious leader to question a person's faith is disgraceful." Trump later softened his tone, saying the Pope was misinformed, unaware of the impact of the drugs coming into the United States, and a range of security issues that made it necessary to build a wall along the southern U.S. border. So yeah, what Pope Francis said was what a lot of the Democrats were saying along the campaign trail. We should build bridges, not walls, and that's exactly, he said exactly what Hillary was saying, what Obama was saying on the campaign trail, and we've seen this a lot. There's been so many. Donald Trump, he's had a lot of meetings his first 100 days, and now going into the second 100 days. We're into the hundreds now, but we've seen he's had a lot of these meetings, and we've seen him have a lot of meetings with people who have been somewhat critical of him along the way, and we've seen it with. I'm pretty sure the Canadian Prime Minister wasn't very high on him. He's met with Mitt Romney, who was talking a lot of smack. He's meeting with. He met with the Argentinian president, who was saying a lot of negative things about Trump during the campaign trail and since. And he's meeting with Pope Francis, who obviously, like I just told you, didn't have the best things to say about him either. And I think he's handled a lot of these meetings very well, and I think he'll handle this one well. But it'll be interesting to see how that goes down, because that'll be kind of an area where we've never seen Donald Trump. We've never seen him, never seen him with a pope. So maybe we'll see how that plays out. Moving down, Slim Talk with Slim Guy. Political talk causing problems at work. Oh man, I could have told you that. Political talk is causing problems at work, survey finds. Well, anytime you're in a group of people, there are going to be some varying differences. Whether you like the Bee Gees and your friend likes Madonna, or whether you like Madonna and your friend likes Elton John, or whether your friend likes Elton John and you like Billy Joel. Or if you're a Republican or conservative and your friend is another person, they're not your friend, the other person is a Democrat, and it's going to cause some problems at work, and this is completely ridiculous. So this guy who has very pink skin was apparently on some morning show on CBS News, and you know what, I'm not even going to read this because I already know this stuff. Let's see, this one says, if life has you down, do a handstand. Well, that's kind of tricky, because a lot of people don't know how to do handstands, and sometimes the only way that people can do handstands is to get over by a wall, and sometimes you're just not near a wall, and you're not near something that you can use to help you do a handstand. And I think it's, if you're going to tell somebody to do something that's going to make them feel better, it should be something that everyone can do. Because, okay, let's imagine you go up to a depressed person, and you say, "Hey, depressed person, do you want to be happy? Do you want to feel better? Is your world upside down?" They say, "My world is upside down, turned around. I don't know what to do. I'm so alone. I'm so afraid." Well, then you say to the depressed person, "Well, depressed person, you're in luck, because I got something that can turn your world right upright, and I got something that can make you happy and make you feel better. You know what it is? And they'll probably say, is it some kind of prescription medication? Is it some kind of, is it like a trip to Disneyland? Is it, is it like, do I get to hang out with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders? No. You have to do a handstand, and then they're going to be very upset with you because they're going to say, because a lot of times, some depressed people come in all shapes and sizes. Some people are capable of doing handstands, but some people, if someone's very skinny and they're not strong enough to hold themselves up, or if they're very overweight and they're not, and the part that will be suspended in the air is too much to support with just their arms or their hands, if you will, then they're not going to be able to do that. And you shouldn't be telling depressed people to do handstands. That's all I'm going to say about that. That was from, what was that from? That was from, okay, by Judy Kettler. So, hey, great job, Judy. And let's see, how far are we in the show? We are 16 minutes. We can keep going on Slim Talk with the Slim Guy. So, escape. Audio nerds flock to ambient music shows. This is from the New York Post. Is this the most chill music festival ever? Well, based off of them using the word chill and it being a music festival, I'm probably not going to like this. So hundreds turned out for the 24-hour drone event that featured dozens of performers in Hudson, New York. Songs that drone on and on aren't always a bad thing. Music lovers are increasingly gravitating toward ambient music. The atmosphere, while we're on the topic of music drowning on and on, I might play some tunes that drowns on and on if I can find one. Here's a song, you might have heard of it, called Right Now, Van Halen. Turn it up. So we got some piano going here. This is kind of like what we did last week. Oh man, I don't know what that was, might have been an organ. Keep my eye on the door because I'm afraid the Undertaker might come in. Not like the devil, like the wrestler. Building up. It's kind of droning on and on. 30 seconds in. Finally, something. I know we promised you guys you'd get some more of that Year of the Cat song, and here you go. There you go. Got some more piano interlude here, prelude. Banging into it some. So, these people are going to listen to drone music, the music that drones on. Honestly, I don't think I'd want to sit there and listen to music that drones on, because the picture showed a bunch of people laying out in beanbags, and wait for it. This ain't no droning music, is it? No, it's not. Here at the Cole and Steve Show, we play good music and we play real music that's not droning on. And so, I guess that means I don't think you should go to that drone. And anything that says super chill, that's just ridiculous. Chill, you shouldn't say anything is chill. And I don't even like when people say something is lit. That's why I've come up with the phrase, it's flipping the switch. Because, with something it's lit sounds so dumb. It's flipping the switch. That means, you're flipping that switch. You're so excited, you're flipping the switch to turn on the light. So now we'll move on to the next thing and see how far we are along in the show. We're 20 minutes in. This is way further than I thought I'd make it. So you know what? I'm going to end Slim Talk with a Slim Guy right there, and we're going to move on to interesting news of the day. Thank you, Mr. Producer, for bringing us over to interesting news of the day. So this one is once again out of our pals over at Oddity Central and our even better pal, Spooky. Boo. So this one is in, when we look for stories on Oddity Central to be our interesting news, you have to, like anything, you have to scroll through a list of headlines, but it's different than scrolling through headlines of normal news, because in normal news you pretty much know, you already know the stuff that's kind of happened, and so you know exactly pretty much what you're looking for. But when you're going through Oddity Central looking for a story to use, you really have to just find something where the headline kind of jumps out at you. Something that's so outrageous, something that's so ridiculous and interesting, hence the name Interesting News, that it's willing to use as your story. So, I'll go ahead and I'll share with you some of the ones I was scrolling through. And I'll say the one that I ended up choosing last. So we have popular retailer sells see-through plastic jeans for $100 a pair. Pass. Texas artist turns popcorn into art. That's just more weird than interesting. That's not super interesting. They just look kind of creepy. Legend has it that this spicy pizza induces child labor, and the picture of that pizza and then having a newborn child beside it really just kind of makes me uncomfortable, so I didn't want to go with that. And then this says the Catman of Kyushu walks his non-furry felines in a baby stroller, and I saw that picture and it just looked terrifying. This one says artist paints with the sun using magnifying glass as his brush, which was interesting, but not really what I was looking for. And then we got to the winner here. This one says, man pays 200 strangers to act as guests at his wedding. He ends up in jail. So what was supposed to be, this is from Spooky, if I didn't say it out of the boo. What was supposed to be the happy state of their lives turned into a complete nightmare for a young couple in China, after it was revealed that the groom had hired 200 random people to act as his friends and relatives at the wedding. The groom, known only by his surname Wang, and his fiancée Xiaoli were supposed to tie the knot on Sunday, April 30th, during a big wedding banquet at a hotel in Xi'an, China's Shanxi province. Everything was going according to plan up to the point when the family of the bride noticed that half of the tables reserved for the groom's guests laid empty. Wayne kept telling them that they were on their way, but the bride and her parents really became suspicious of him after talking to the few guests that were seated at his tables and noticing that while they all said that they were Wang's friends, they couldn't really say how they knew him. Bryson Witt paused for commentary. So here's what I'll say. It says that the bride and her parents really became suspicious of him after talking to the few guests. So this guy hires 200 people to come to his wedding, pretend to be his friends. You're marrying this guy, and you're just now becoming suspicious. Usually when someone gets in a relationship with someone and eventually decides to marry them, they have a chance to, meet a friend or two. And why didn't this guy hire some friends to say, you know what, do you mind being my friend for the rest of my life or the rest of the near future if I just, pay you like $50 a week, and then I can introduce you to this girl I want to marry, and then you and some other people can come to my wedding, and we'll have a great time. But that's not what happened. She apparently never met any of his friends. So if you're dating a guy that doesn't have any friends, and if he says he has friends, you never met them. I think you have the right to be suspicious by his wedding guests. And you should have been suspicious of him a long time ago. And you'd think, with how weird this guy sounds, just on the fact that he hired 200 people to pretend to be his friends and family, you would think they would have found something else to be suspicious of him a long time ago. So we'll try John Bryson will unpause for just reading the story. With the banquet well underway and Wang's parents nowhere to be found, the 27-year-old bride became convinced that he was lying, so she called the police. Okay, I don't understand why would she need to call the police for that? What did he do wrong? He can't hire 200 people to just come hang out in a banquet hall? Whatever, it's China. When they arrived and started asking the groom's guests questions, some of them cracked under pressure and admitted that they had never met him before. If you see that, honestly, he's paying you. I mean, he's paying you some sort of money. We'll read on to find out. Some of them were students. Others said they were taxi drivers, but they had all something in common. They had been contacted by Wang on social media platform WeChat and offered 80 yuan, which is the equivalent of $12, to attend the wedding as his friends and relatives. Some of them even pulled out their smartphones and showed police a text they had exchanged with Wang as proof. So, I don't know how much 80. I don't know if 80 yuan is. I mean, over here in the U.S., if someone, I mean, I'm not really sure if I would say yes to someone, say yes to go to someone's wedding and pretend to be their friend for just $12, because, I mean, if you just say, hey, just come to this, you don't have to. I mean, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to pretend to be anything. I'll give you $12. Just come, just hang out. I would say, you know what, I might do that. But, you know, I think you need to be paying them way more than $12 if they're pretending to be your friend. And he should have, and he obviously didn't do a very good job. If you're really going to sell this good, you're going to have to meet with all 200, one at a time, and then all together. You have to come up with a background for each person. You're going to have to come up with know their name. You're going to have to let them tell you some secrets about them. You have to pick out ones of the group that are your close friends, ones that that are just kind of acquaintances. You have to find ones in the group that look like you to say that they're your family. You have to, say that we're related by so and so. Tell them the story about when you were growing up. And he didn't, and he didn't do any of this. Basically, he just said, "Here's $12. Just tell anyone that asks that you know me, and then that's all you got. Just don't worry about it." So, I mean, I guess the bride has to be a little insulted that he thinks she's that dumb. But honestly, why would she call the cops? Just don't know that. But, so local TV station Shaanxi TV broadcast interviews with the fake wedding guests and the confused bride, who told reporters that she and Wang had been together for 3 years, but she never suspected he was capable of such a stunt. Well, maybe she is dumb. She said, "He was nice to me, always paying the bills and tending to my needs," the jilted bride said. "But now that I think of it, we had no common friends, and the parents I met were probably also hired." So, okay, he did hire some parents, but and he might have, and he probably did some work with them, getting them prepared to be his parents. But if he really wanted to do this right, he would have had to do like I said, sit down with all the people that he hired, and make sure that he did this right. Because if he's been going out with this girl for 3 years and he wants to marry her, and he's had some stunts that he might have pulled along the way, and he's had some chances of being caught by this woman or girl or young lady, then you think he would have been able to pull off just one more thing, and then he probably would have been home free from that point. But the wedding drama soon went viral on Chinese social media and was picked up by the BBC, who mentioned that Wang had been arrested following a charade, but didn't offer any explanation as to why that happened. Hiring 200 fake guests to attend your wedding is pretty weird, but I don't think it's a criminal offense anywhere in the world. Thank you, Spooky. That's what I was saying. Luckily, Chinese news network CGTN cleared everything up earlier today when they revealed that Wang was detained for fraud. He is accused of swindling over 1.1 million yuan, which is $160,000 in the U.S., from the family of the bride over the last couple of years. In 2015, Wang reportedly borrowed 400,000 yuan for capital. I guess it could be yuan or yen, I don't know. For capital turnover at work, and earlier this year he asked his future in-laws for another 700,000 yuan as dowry money to buy his bride-to-be a car. Dang. After the stunt he pulled at the wedding, the bride and her family were apparently convinced that he was only marrying her for money. Well, there you go. Why didn't you lead with that, Spooky? Gosh. But that's not the only reason he was arrested. Hang on. Hang on, Colton Stevos. While running a background check, police found that Mr. Wang was only 20 years old, which makes him 2 years too young to legally get married in China. So, this guy was better at being a criminal than I thought. CGTN reports that after hearing about Wang's exploits on the news, his real parents showed up and offered to repay Xiaoli and her family the money their son had borrowed. That his real parents escape from the basement he locked them in, how did they didn't know that his son was going out and seeing this girl for 3 years and dating the girl, and they never met her? If he said he was about to marry her. And Spooky says, I can't help but think that Wang would have probably got away with his plan if only he had turned to professionals instead of random people on WeChat. I agree. In China, services to offer fake girlfriends, fake employees, and even fake bridesmaids are very popular. So surely he could have hired some better fake wedding guests. So to go with that theory, one might think that all this money that he had borrowed and stolen, he probably had, he might have blown all that money if he could only pay the equivalent of $12, 200 people, just random people. I guess he thought he couldn't afford professionals that could have sold it, and he could have gotten away with this very elaborate, or what could have been an elaborate fraud. But yeah, very interesting, and those are the stories we look for when we're looking for interesting news. So before we get into sports, there's a little bit of movie stuff to talk about. So tonight, obviously, the debut of Guardians of the Galaxy comes out on May 5th, which is tomorrow, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But you can see it in theaters tonight, and that's exciting. And the first one was a big hit. A lot of people are saying the second one is pretty good. A lot of people are saying it's not as good as the first one, but hey, what sequel is? And hopefully it's still a lot of fun. And there's going to be some new characters, and they're going to flesh out some more stories for the characters and continue to build on those storylines. But it's also, today is May the 4th, so today's a big Star Wars celebration day. May the 4th be with you. And while I think it's fine that they have May the 4th be with you, I'll say this. To all these, a lot of these people that are celebrating May the 4th be with you, some of these people are these PC people that get offended by, dumb things. Like people got offended by the fact that they called some of the missiles we use Tomahawk missiles because it'd be offensive to Native Americans or American Indians. And, doesn't the fact that they're calling this holiday May the 4th be with you, couldn't it be offensive to those of the people in our society who have a lisp? Didn't they think about that? Those people, they're hypocrites. But that was dumb. And it's also, this week was also, obviously most of the superhero movies that come out, they usually, a lot of the bigger ones that come out in May. They come out around this time, the first, second week of May. So this week was an anniversary week for a lot of classic superhero movies. I think yesterday was the 15th anniversary of the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man coming out in 2002. So that was pretty cool, and that changed everything for superhero movies. And today is the 5-year birthday of Avengers. Came out in 2012, and Iron Man turned 9. I want to say a couple days ago. So that's exciting. The MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe, is growing. They're adding another film to their repertoire tonight, and they're going to continue on with this year with Spider-Man Homecoming and Thor Ragnarok. So that's enough of me being a nerd. We'll jump into some sports. We'll get the stuff that I don't want to talk about out of the way first. Let's talk. So, with that said, we'll start talking about the NBA Finals. So, we've talked about this several times on the Colt and Steve show. The NBA this year, and when people talk about the NBA, it seems like they hardly ever talk about what the play that's actually happening on the court. And and I was thinking of this a couple days ago. In baseball, when we see controversies, they're usually about PEDs or injuries, or disputes between players. Or like if there's a big brawl with what's going on, the back and forth that's going on between the Orioles and the Red Sox right now. But in basketball, the controversies are a former player having a beef with, a current NBA star, or we don't see some college baseball player's dad saying that his son is better than Mike Trout, or saying his son's better than Bryce Harper or Freddie Freeman, whatever. You don't see that in baseball, but you see it in stuff like that in basketball, and there's so much talk about stuff that's not even happening on the court that it's hard to be interested in stuff that is happening on the court because the all the stuff that happens and is revolving around the National Basketball Association is given. I don't know if it's given a lot of people a bad taste in their mouth about the NBA, but it's given me a little bad taste because I enjoy watching basketball, but I don't enjoy all the controversy and all the crazy stuff that comes along with it. So we'll talk about what's going on in the NBA Finals. So we've got 8 teams left. Winner of each series. There's 4 series going on right now. We got the Warriors taking on the Jazz. They are ready for Game 2. Warriors lead 1-0. They took care of the Trailblazers very easily, and they should take care of the Jazz easily as well. The Jazz just snuck out of the Staples Center with a Game 7 win. I think that was Sunday. So they want to keep going with that. Houston, they handled the Thunder just fine, and the Spurs handled the Grizzlies just fine. And I think this is going to be a good series. It's already been pretty good battle for Texas. Series tied at 1-1. You got Kawhi versus James Harden, and that'll be fun for the state of Texas and those fans, those basketball fans. I got some good basketball fans in Texas, good sports fans in Texas. All right, so we go to the Eastern Conference. We got 2 series going on. 1 real series, 1 WWE series. So we got number 1 seed Boston taking on the Wizards. In the early part of the Boston Chicago series, the Celtics they looked a little underwhelming. They looked a little like they were still trying to find their footing. They looked like they lacked playoff identity, but towards the end of that series, they really started coming to their own and play well, and that translated into this series with the Wizards, who played well as well against the Hawks, beating them 4-2, and a lot of people thought that was going to go to 7. But Boston's leading 2-0 right now, and we'll see where that where that series goes going forward. And then another series, like I said, it's a WWE thing. We already know who's going to win, and honestly, we probably know who's going to be in the finals, and that's another thing that I hate about basketball. We've said this 1,000 times. NBA is becoming more predictable than the WWE. You can pencil in at the beginning of the year the 2 teams that are going to be in the finals, and it's probably going to be the Warriors and the Cavs. And the Cavs, they took care of the Pacers extremely easily, beating them 4-0 in the series. And they're making short work of the Raptors, just as they did the Pacers. They're up on them 2-0. And that's what we have from the NBA playoffs, and we'll give you some more updates on that as we get them next week. Now, about a good playoff thing, we have the Stanley Cup playoffs. They're still going on. We'll start over on the left side of the screen. You can't see it, but I can. Just use your imagination. So the Predators are still playing. They're still playing well, I might add. They're leading They're leading against the St. Louis Blues 3-1, and win one more game, and they're one step closer to the Stanley Cup. I'm not sure if they've ever made it to semifinals in Nashville history, but like we said before, I think it'd be really cool if the Predators could win. It'd be great for hockey in the South, great for sports in the South, because truly Southern cities haven't had a championship since 1995. And I guess you could consider the Carolina teams the South, but I guess you can. But I'm talking about like Tennessee and Georgia. That'd be good for sports in Tennessee and Georgia. All right. So we've got a good series going on with the Anaheim Ducks and the Edmonton Oilers. They're tied at 2 games apiece. Anaheim took care of the Calgary Flames 4-0. And the Oilers, they made fairly short work of the San Jose Sharks, beating them 4-2. Move over to the right, we've got the New York Rangers, who are losing by a game in the series to the Ottawa Senators after beating the Canadiens 4-2, and the Senators beat the Bruins 4-2 in their series. And our last series, the Penguins are handling the Capitals 3-1. Both of them played well in their first series and won by more than 2 games, by 2 games or more. So there's your Stanley Cup. We'll update you, like we said, on that next week, and hopefully we'll have some good news to tell you about the Nashville Predators. All right, so now let's talk about baseball. like I said, Colton got to go to the Braves game last night. I'm going tomorrow night. Hopefully, he saw the Bartolo Colon and the Braves take on Jacob deGrom and the Mets, and that didn't work out great. The Braves lost 16-5. I'm going to see the Braves against the Cardinals. Hopefully that will fare better for the Braves, and hopefully we'll get to see a win. But kind of a little surprise. The Yankees have moved into first place in the East, and the Yankees, I have been very, very impressed with the Yankees. They can hit homers like nobody's business. Aaron Judge has been incredible. He continues to hit home runs. He is right now, I think he's the clear choice for Rookie of the Year in the American League. And they haven't even got Gary Sanchez back. And they've been playing well. And the Orioles, who were winning the division, they have been playing well, but they've kind of been stalled a little bit by the Red Sox, and not because the Red Sox have been playing extremely well. The Red Sox haven't been playing extremely well, and they've kind of yet to find their footing early in the season. But when I say that they've kind of been stalled by the Red Sox, I mean that it all started maybe like 1 or 2 weeks ago when Manny Machado slid into second and accidentally or maybe on purpose spiked Dustin Pedroia, and Dustin Pedroia wasn't mad about it. He thought it was an accident, but the next game, and they should have just done it. They should have just thrown at him that game and had it over with. But the next game, one of the Red Sox pitchers threw at his head, and then the Orioles retaliated by throwing at the Red Sox. And then a couple games ago, they threw at Manny Machado, and then yesterday, Kevin Gausman hits Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, with a breaking pitch, and Sam Holbrook throws him out of the game. And I think that, and when you watch the highlight of that, it definitely means like he doesn't mean to. And Kevin Gausman, as soon as he sees that it hits him, he knows what's about to happen. He's like, oh great, that's the last thing I needed to do. And he throws up his hand, and then he doesn't expect to get thrown out of the game, but he gets thrown out of the game in the first inning, or it might have been the second inning, and he had no idea why. He was extremely upset, and that is going to continue to be nasty, I think, and that's going to be that rivalry is going to continue to build this season. So Tampa Bay, they're playing around 500 ball in the AL East. Toronto's still trying to they're still playing pretty bad baseball, 9-19, not looking great. So, a bit of a surprise. The Cleveland, they've looked pretty good the first month of the season, and they have, but they haven't, set the world on fire. They're 3 games over 500, and nobody in that division is kind of in the AL Central has just become an outstanding team. But a surprise, the Minnesota Twins are tied for first in the division. So Houston, they're continuing to play well. They're 19-9. They're playing great. Angels are playing all right. They're 1 game over 500. The Nationals, they continue to roll through anyone they face. Braves fall back into last place in the NL East. The Cubs still trying to find their footing like some other teams, like the Red Sox. They're winning that division. They're the only team in that division over 500. And the Rockies, they have kind of fed into what a lot of people were saying they could do, and they've been playing very well this year, and they're winning that division 17-11. And the teams that the people would thought would be in the top 2 spots in that division are the Dodgers and the Giants, and they're in 3rd and 5th. And people who thought might be in 3 and 4 are in 1st and 2nd in the Colorado Rockies and Arizona Diamondbacks. All right, so it is almost time to end our show. Time for the verse of the day. Today's verse of the day is, if it'll pull up, James 1:5. If any of you lacks wisdom, he should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to him. Daryl, thank you for today, Bus. Well, thank you for the show. Thank you for allowing me to do this and make it this far. Thank you for giving me the words to say. Amen. All right, so now we'll move on to our joke if we have time. How do you make a witch itch? Takeaway or W. Thanks for listening to the Colton Steve Show. I've been Bryson Witt. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, subscribe on iTunes. See you later. Bye-bye.